Let's talk about something people just don't say out loud enough. Not all retirees love Florida. Some retirees move here expecting paradise, beaches, sunshine, golf, and palm trees. Then a year later, they're packing up and leaving. And honestly, some of the reasons might surprise you. Because retiring in Florida is very different than vacationing in Florida. If we haven't met yet, my name's Melanie Gunning, and I am your Florida real estate guide. And I help people relocate here along Florida's Treasure Coast, which is that Vero Sebastian area, all the way down to the Jupiter to Cuesta area and everything in between and all around. After talking to thousands of people who are moving here from states like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, and even California, you start hearing the same things over and over again. The same surprises, the same frustrations, the same things people wish they knew before they moved. So today, I want to talk honestly about some of the reasons why retirees regret moving to Florida, even though there's so many others that love living here. Because Florida can be an absolute paradise for the right person, but it's definitely not one size fits all. So let's jump into it. Woo! Number one is the heat shocks people. Okay, let's start with the one that everyone thinks they understand until they actually live here. The heat. Now listen. Most people vacation in Florida in the winter months, which are the best months of the year. Maybe January, February, March, even November and December. The weather feels incredible. But living in Florida full-time is a completely different experience. Because the summers aren't just hot, they are relentless. The humidity can feel like a wet blanket outside. You can walk to the mailbox and come back and need a shower. You can get into your car and it can feel like an oven. And for some retirees, especially those moving south from colder states, that adjustment is just way harder than they expect. A lot of people imagine themselves walking outside every day, golfing nonstop, even pickleball, and sitting on their patio each and every evening. Then July shows up and they realize they don't even want to leave the house until late evening or sunset. It's not just the heat, it's the humidity, it's the bugs, mosquitoes, afternoon storms, mold, and your AC bill. And honestly, one thing that surprises a lot of people is the pollen in the spring. People think Florida is a year-round tropical paradise, and then spring hits. For people with allergies, certain parts of Florida can actually be pretty rough during parts of the year. Now, for some people, that is worth the sunshine year-round. But for others, the weather does slowly tear them down. So the second is, of course, homeowners insurance, and this does catch a lot of people off guard. And honestly, it could be one of the bigger shocks for people moving to Florida right now. A lot of retirees are just thinking about there's no state income tax for Florida, so it must be cheaper to live there. And at one time, it was. Then they get their insurance quote and they get a little taken back. And this does create quite a bit of reality. Homeowners insurance has absolutely increased across Florida over the last couple of years. Flood insurance can add up depending on the location. Condo fees and HOA fees have also risen in certain communities, especially if the buildings are older, that now require major updates and reserves. But here's the important part about the headlines that most people don't explain. Florida insurance is incredibly area dependent. Two homes just 20 minutes apart can have entirely different insurance costs. And huge factors are the age of the home and the construction type. Newer homes built to updated hurricane requirements are often dramatically cheaper to insure. Things like newer roofs, impact windows, elevation, concrete block construction, flood zone location, and your proximity to the coast all make massive differences. I have seen countless retirees panic after reading the headlines, only to realize the area that they specifically wanted may actually be very manageable insurance-wise. And honestly, some parts of Florida, the insurance situation has begun stabilizing and improving compared to where it was just a couple of short years ago. This is not a one-size-fits-all conversation. It's really important to understand. Now, with that said, some retirees are still feeling major sticker shock when they first see the real numbers, especially if you're comparing Florida to a state that has lower storm exposure. The emotional component, it's not always about the money, it's just the uncertainty. People in retirement want to feel stable, predictable, and peaceful. And that rapidly changing insurance costs can create stress that many retirees are wanting to escape. Again, not everyone feels the same way. Some retirees still believe Florida is worth every penny. But for others, this becomes one of the biggest reasons they reconsider where they want to retire. Number 3 is family. This one gets emotional fast because most retirees don't leave Florida because they hate Florida. They leave because they really miss their family. And at first, moving to Florida is super exciting. There's freedom, sunshine, and a fresh chapter. And then life happens. Grandkids are growing up without you nearby. They may have parents that are home that are aging. Holidays feel different. And suddenly that dream retirement starts feeling lonely. I've talked to several retirees who absolutely loved their Florida home, but hated being thousands of miles away from people that they love the most. And this does happen more than people realize, especially after a few years, because vacation distance can feel fun. Real life distance does feel heavy. And for many retirees, family eventually pulls them back home. Number 4, the traffic. Let's talk about something that does surprise many retirees when they move here. That is the traffic. And this is very area dependent. Some parts of Florida feel easy and relaxed to navigate. Other parts feel completely chaotic during season, especially in your larger metro areas. Now, let me be clear, this is not New York, New Jersey type of traffic, but for Florida, some of the areas have gotten dramatically busy over the last few years. And honestly, even different highway systems can feel dramatically different. For example, driving on I-75 on the west coast of Florida, that can be the Wild West sometimes. Meanwhile, in my area on the Treasure Coast, I-95 is an entirely different experience. Still, traffic at times, especially during season, the intensity that you're going to see in some of those major Southwest Florida markets and South Florida markets like Miami, Fort Lauderdale areas. This is why I always tell people Florida is not a single experience. Naples feels different than Port St. Lucie. Jupiter feels different than Fort Myers. Treasure Coast traffic is entirely different than Miami traffic. And retirees who don't research specific areas sometimes can end up in locations that feel busier than what they were hoping for. During season, roads are crowded, restaurants fill up, stores get packed, doctors get booked out, and some retirees realize they're missing their slower living. But for others, the extra energy is exactly why they chose Florida. And it really comes down to lifestyle fit. Number 5, the healthcare reality. And this is an important one, especially for those retiring and getting ready to retire. And honestly, I want to approach this one very carefully. Florida has a lot of excellent healthcare options. There are many outstanding hospitals, top specialists, world-class healthcare systems. And many retirees specifically move to Florida because they want access to a strong retirement-focused healthcare network. But like many things in Florida, healthcare is very area dependent. Some parts of Florida have incredible medical access very close by. Other areas, especially in rural communities, may require longer drives for certain specialists or advanced treatments. And because Florida has such a vast retirement population, some areas can experience longer wait times for appointments, especially during that peak season. Now, that doesn't mean healthcare here is bad, not at all. In fact, many retirees are extremely happy with their doctors and their care here. But healthcare is one of those things that people should absolutely research before getting here, especially if you have significant medical needs, preferred specialists, or are looking to be close to a specific hospital system. I've also seen retirees later realize that they want to be closer to adult children or support systems as they age. Sometimes more than Florida itself becomes a reason that they leave. So this really isn't a Florida healthcare is bad conversation. It's more like make sure the area that you choose matches your long-term healthcare and lifestyle needs. Because choosing the right area of Florida 100% makes all the difference. Number 6, the vacation Florida, which is fantasy versus the reality of Florida. People fall in love with the idea of Florida. The beaches, the sunsets, the boating, the palm trees, golf carts, pickleball, the tropical lifestyle in some cases. And listen, that version of Florida is real, but so is the everyday version. The errands, the bills, the electricity, the humidity, the insurance costs, the storm prep, and the crowded stores. Eventually, Florida will stop feeling like a vacation and it starts feeling like normal life. And some retirees just struggle with that transition because they moved here chasing a feeling, but feelings eventually become routines. And that's true anywhere. And honestly, this is why I always tell people, do not judge Florida by a 1-week vacation. You need to experience normal life here. Number 7, that hurricane stress is real. So we're gonna talk about those storms. Some people romanticize hurricane season like they've actually lived through it. And listen, not every storm is catastrophic. Most aren't. But hurricane season does create a different kind of stress. You watch forecasts nonstop, kind of similar to the snowstorm forecasts. You're buying supplies, you're boarding up windows potentially, you're wondering if you need to evacuate, you're worrying about flooding, losing power, checking your insurance coverage every year. And for some retirees, especially those that are a little older, that anxiety can just become exhausting over time. Some people handle it just fine. We typically don't get overly worried unless the Waffle House is closed. Others do eventually decide that the lifestyle just isn't worth the stress anymore. Number 8, Florida is not as cheap as everyone thinks. Another huge misconception. People hear things like no state income tax, and they assume that Florida is cheap. And it used to be. Retirement costs are going to entirely depend on where you live, your lifestyle, and your housing situation. Some retirees save a fortune by moving here. Others spend way more than they expected. Groceries can be expensive. We all love Publix, but it's not the place to regularly shop. Utility bills, insurance in some areas, waterfront living gets expensive very fast. HOAs can surprise people. And if you're constantly eating out, golfing, boating, entertaining, and living that Florida lifestyle, retirement spending can escalate quickly. But Florida can be absolutely affordable. It can also be surprisingly expensive if you're not careful. Number 9, why people still love retiring to Florida. Now, hearing all of this, you might think nobody should move to Florida. And that's not true at all. Because for the right person, Florida is incredible. The sunshine changes people. The active lifestyle keeps you younger. The energy here, life here feels alive. Wow. People love the beaches, the boating, the golf, the pickleball, restaurants, communities, friendships, and freedom from the snow. And honestly, a lot of retirees that move here say the same thing. They wish they would have done it sooner. Florida gives many people the lifestyle they just never could have back home. And despite all the challenges we talked about, so many retirees would just never leave. Because Florida, it gets in your system and it can be really hard to let go of. So here's my honest advice if you're considering retiring to Florida. Don't make this move based on vacation emotions alone. And honestly, before you even start researching cities, towns, and communities, start by thinking of your lifestyle first. How do you actually want your daily life to look? Do you want energy and nightlife? Quiet beaches? Are you looking for golf every day? Unlimited pickleball? Walkability? Boating? Are you looking for a slower pace? A big active community? Or privacy and space? Because Florida has all of those lifestyles, but they exist in very specific places. This is why choosing the right area matters more than people realize. If you're able to come here for longer than a week, experience that normal life, go grocery shopping, drive during rush hour, visit in the summer, talk to locals, look at real monthly expenses, because Florida can be absolute paradise. I know I think it is. But only if it fits your lifestyle. And honestly, that's the goal. Not finding the perfect place. Finding the right place for you and your family. And if you really want facts about moving to Florida, especially here on Florida's Treasure Coast, and not all the nonsense and fear, frankly, you see online, make sure you check out my Moving to Florida webinars. They are Wednesdays at 7 p.m. The link will be in the description below. I break down those real costs, different Florida lifestyles, best areas for retirees, things to avoid, and what people wish they knew before they moved here. These webinars are designed to help you make a smart decision with real information, not internet hype. And if you have any questions about moving to Florida, drop them in the comments below. I read every single one. And make sure you subscribe. We post new Florida relocation videos every single week. And as always, we want you to love where you live, and I'll see you on the next home tour.